Episode 6, The Right Arm of Voltron, is perhaps one of the most famous episodes in the series. If you know someone who remembers something about Voltron other than the basics, it might just be knowledge about this episode. The whole spiel starts off with Erusians from around the world traveling to the Newcastle Alliance to seek shelter and to help out in the war. Can I call it a war yet? I feel like I can call it a war. The good news is that Allura is now in a costume other than her dress, which is awesome because that was stupid from frame number 1.
Many still hide in the caves, not knowing.
What are you waiting for?
Excited to see so many of her loyal lackeys show up to serve her, Allura orders a feast made out of the vast rations that they found inside the castleception. When some of the team goes to check up on these rations, they discover that the space mice have already gotten to the cheese left behind. Then Pidge goes into a long rant about how the space mice are just as much heroes as they are, launching into a flashback recapping things that I can't possibly have forgotten about yet. And I can assure you that in this instance, this is the American version. You can tell because the American version will put this light haze around their flashbacks and visions, while the Japanese show will just cut to whatever they want to. Before Pidge can bask in the brilliance of the space mice for another millisecond, the castle is suddenly attacked by the Drool Empire.
Do you think there's an even better castle under that castle?
They tried to set some of the turrets out to defend the outer perimeter, but it's clear that they're going to need Voltron if they're going to do any meaningful damage. Cue long stock loading sequence.
How would they not know about the super castle under the regular castle if they go underground?
Instead of ducking around and waiting for the Drool to send out a Robeast, the team instead decides to form Voltron immediately and attack the main Drool fleet ship.
Man, you know who I forgot was a character?
Who?
Sven!
Yeah.
Abandon the attack! All units return to Planet Doom!
So we cut to Drool HQ, where Zarkon is pissed that he has failed to destroy the Voltron Lion Force. Hagar promises that this time she has a trick up her sleeve, and for once, she might be right. Right after this we cut to another Galaxy Garrison collage, but at least this time they use footage from a different episode to portray the discussion. The Galaxy Garrison elites are kinda like the narrator from Robotech, I guess, in that they're trying to fill a void left in the translation, and they're also supposed to be giving analysis on the current events taking place in the show, but they almost always get it completely wrong. For instance, they keep talking about the circumstances on Eris as if the Drool are losing and are just not giving up, and they seem to think that the Lion Force is under the impression that they have won for some reason. That's stupid. So the team goes and visits a specific hidden town on Eris where many Erusians are hidden away.
They only feel safe deep in those caves.
Sven, you're such a memorable and long-lasting character.
They give the townspeople a heap of food, but then are briefly distracted by the arrival of the witch Hagar's cat, who they chase after.
And away, Sven! Oh no, Lance.
No, Lance, what are you doing, Lance?
Lance manages to catch up to her first and is caught by some sort of magic net. Before Hagar can do whatever she was going to do, however, Lance is saved by Sven, who stays to fight against the witch while Lance goes to get the others. However, this doesn't seem to go quite as planned.
This is mildly terrifying.
But only because it's like animated strangely. It's like everything's red and it's like...
Yeah.
Sven manages to find the real witch, but he is distracted by Hagar's cat long enough for one of her Robeasts to knock him out from behind. As he falls from the initial attack, the beast delivers a final blow. By the time that the team is caught up, it's too late. Sven has died at the hands of the Robeast, before they could even say goodbye. Nah, not really. That is what happens in the Japanese version, where Shiro dies at the hand of the witch while trying to fend her off. But of course, when adapting the show for Saturday mornings, the American team decided instead just to have Sven shipped off to some hospital on a distant planet for a couple dozen episodes. Check out this scene, where Sven shows off his amazing talent of talking without moving his mouth.
The witch has a new monster.
There's a doctor on Planet Ebb.
Get me there fast.
When I say that Sven comes back in a short period of time, I'm not lying. You see, Shiro was so popular in the Japanese version that they decided to later introduce a character who was his brother and looked just like him. Knowing this, the Voltron adapters decided to just rewrite this character to be Sven, finally back from the hospital and good as new. Of course, this is one of the most infamous examples of localized censorship in the 1980s. But changing Shiro's exit from a death to an injury, it makes a calculated and planned out storyline seem like it was done merely for out-of-universe problems within the show. Probably because that's definitely why they killed him off. If you'll recall, in the first part I went over how the main cast of characters were kinda hard to tell apart from the get-go. Keith, Sven, and Lance all kinda looked the same, they didn't have many notable personality differences, and they didn't seem to have a lot to contribute to the group. Basically, the Voltron Line Force has 3 Hawkeyes, and they're supposed to be the main ones that we like the most. While I had admitted that this could simply be the dubbing missing out on a whole lot of their character notes, I also have a hard time believing that that is 100% absolute. In the episode before this one, Sven has so few lines that I can play them all right now, and this episode will still easily be within fair use.
Right! Duck! Our laser blasters aren't even scratching him! Hang on! Voltron! We've tried just about everything, Princess! We need help, Princess! Whoa! Whoa!
And as the story was taking so much interest in the princess as a character and was working so hard to make it seem like she was involved, the only logical step is to kill one of them off and put the princess in their place to serve the role as the girl on the team. And while there have been good stories that have killed off main cast members just to skim down the payroll, I again feel like this one doesn't have a lot of dedication to making me understand or care about Sven. Like, I'm sorry, but Sven is a nothing character. I can't list his history, I can't list his personality, he is a blank canvas waiting to be painted on by someone who actually cares. I just have trouble seeing this as anything less than an over-glorified version of the second castle rising up over the first one. A transparent attempt to change the dynamics of the show when we literally have just barely scrapped past the introduction episodes. Also, I understand that there was a funeral scene that was cut from the American release. Was the Japanese version of Hagar just patiently waiting for them to wrap that up, or did they just bury Shiro in like 10 minutes? Without Sven, they can't form Voltron, so they instead just have to improvise.
I warned you not to make me use this. Now I'm using it!
They try and trick the road beast into falling into a pit of lava, which does the job, but it's clear that without a pilot for the final lion, they're not going to be able to defeat any more road beasts from here on out.
To victory and the quick return of Voltron.
Also, Sven is dead.
Sven is dead.
Sven is very dead.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like the fact that Sven is gone serves a far more important narrative role than him being full out dead. There are clearly scenes that, in the original, were meant to be them discussing the passing of Shiro, but a surprisingly high amount of moments seem unchanged by this great creative scour. When I first started to watch these old episodes of Voltron, my impression of them was that they were going to be two things. Not great, and pretty much harmless. After the 6th episode of the show featured one of the characters being killed off, I knew in an instant that this could profoundly shake up the foundations of the program as a whole, but I still strongly believed that the status quo I had mentioned beforehand was not going to be one that would subside. But this episode honestly surprised me, to the point that I can very easily say that one of those two things that I categorized the show under might not be entirely correct. And we'll talk about that next time.
Sven will be fine. We will wait for Sven to come back.
Why does he come back? There's no point. Why does that brother character in Golion come back?
Because people just like Sven. Because having the character traits of dead makes you immediately popular.
Yeah, like Shadow the Hedgehog.